Aloha, everybody, and welcome to the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast. I'm your host, Drew Manning.
And I'm your co-host, Lynn Manny.
Guys, today we have an awesome episode. So exciting. As you know, yesterday, my TV show, Fit to Fat to Fit on A&E aired. It was the premiere. JJ and Ray, from that first episode, we have them on today to discuss the details and behind the scenes stuff that happened on their episode. So if you enjoyed the episode, you're going to love this podcast because we talked to them about kind of what they went through behind the scenes, and you get to know them on a more intimate level, and it's just a fun conversation with both of them and kind of what they took away from this experience.
Yeah, we talk a little bit about, of obviously what they learned, like really what insight did they gain from doing the journey. If you actually watched the episode, obviously you saw a lot of that from the episode itself. But even if you didn't watch the episode, you guys, there's a lot to learn about someone's health and wellness journey from listening to this episode. So hopefully you glean some good insight from there. We talk about, the ups and downs, what JJ learned from having for the first time in his life being overweight, and what really helped Ray to transform and to lose weight himself.
And you'll see how JJ had a similar experience to mine, right? We were very similar to the way we were before, and what I went through my Fit to Fat to Fit journey, what I learned from it, you'll see he kind of learned the same things, which was my hope for him, because he came across very judgmental, I'll be honest, before he went through this all, and it was a good humbling process for him. But before we jump into the episode, today's episode is brought to you guys by DollarWorkoutClub.com. Now, DollarWorkoutClub.com was created by Natalie Hodson, Lynn, and myself. The three of us came together, created this online program that we deliver high quality content, workouts, recipes, and motivational videos for a very affordable price. And how it works is you pay $1 per week, and that gives you access to 5 at-home workout videos that you can stream to your smartphone, your tablet, your computer, 5 motivational videos, and 5 healthy recipe videos. All 15 videos, new content each week for just $1.
Yep, no contracts, no hidden fees, you guys. We're really proud of this program. We've spent countless hundreds of hours creating the content, making it so anybody can use it at any fitness level, and so it can benefit the masses. So hopefully you check that out, and let's go talk to JJ and Ray.
All right, we're so excited to have JJ and Ray on the show today. You guys just watched their episode last night, and we have them on the podcast today. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. I'm still wiping tears away,
Aww,
I was going to ask, are you guys still crying?
It was a tearjerker.
So. I'm not sure I've gone an hour without sobbing for something.
No, we were talking before we started recording this, and I was telling them, women love that. Women love when men can be real, and real men cry. Drew cries all the time.
Real men cry, but then we work out afterwards, so it's like a balance. It's all good, right? Yes. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show, the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast. And you guys were the first episode of Fit to Fat to Fit, the TV show. And you guys did an awesome job. You guys' transformation was amazing. So I'm going to start off a little bit asking JJ some questions, Ray, but be ready because we're going to have some stuff for you as well. JJ, tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into health and fitness. Have you always been into health and fitness? Like, when did you become a trainer and how did that happen? Just to give people a little bit more of a background about, who you are, because they didn't see that on the episode.
Yeah, my story is a little unique, I think. So I'll take you back to when I was 3 years old. That might sound strange to some people, but I had both my kidneys shut down when I was 3. And I had a really rare kidney disease called hemolytic uremic syndrome. And it shut down both my kidneys, and I was on dialysis for 38 days, and I spent a lot of time in the hospital. And while I was there, I kind of fell in love with the human body. And I was fascinated with how it worked and why it didn't work and what was wrong with my kidneys. And I think I was blessed to remember a lot that happened when I was 3. And for whatever reason, I like when everybody else was reading, what do kids read nowadays? Harry Potter? I don't know what they read. Whatever they were reading,
everyone reads Harry Potter.
I don't know. I was reading like books on anatomy and physiology, and I wanted to know how the body works. So I was reading like college textbooks as a child, and that's what I would check out at the library. And so I was always fascinated with the human body and how it worked.
Wow.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
So like you
I didn't
became
know that
a
about you.
trainer at 3 or?
Then he got certified at 6 years old.
I got my first cert like at 4.5.
Yes.
No,
Gotcha.
I grew up in an athletic family, kind of like you, Drew. I was the youngest of 6 kids, and I had older brothers, and they beat up on me, and we played sports together growing up. But always into something active, baseball, basketball, football, something like that. It wasn't until like 18 or 19 when you graduated from high school and you're not good enough to be a D1 athlete. And so you kind of start, you still like the weights. And so you start lifting and you start eating right. And I was always fascinated by nutrition and things. And so I built a physique, and friends started asking questions. And how did you do it? Well, how are you doing this? And so it was never anything formal, until 2005. So I've only been a trainer for about 10 years, but it's just started off pretty casual, just helping friends, build better bodies, things like that.
Yeah. So with that being said, tell us what were your initial thoughts about this Fit to Fat to Fit idea, and how did you first find out about it?
You know what? I didn't know about the weight gain portion of it until it was too late.
Are you serious? Till after you signed the contract?
That's how we wrote people in. We're like, hey, be on this really cool TV show.
Here, sign right here. Sign right here, and then we'll get started with the TV show.
Oh, by the way, you have to gain like 60 pounds, but it's fine.
It's it's a transformation type deal. You're going to be helping him lose weight. I'm like, oh, that sounds so fun. You sign the contract. Oh, by the way, I'm not sure if you read on the 87th page in very, very small print, you have 40% of your original body weight. And at first I'm like, wait, what did he just say to me? During interviews, but I was already committed at that point. And I'm just kidding, kind of. Like I knew a little bit about the premise behind the show and things, but I didn't know to what extent. I didn't know they wanted me to gain 61 pounds. I thought it was going to be, 10, 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Because, wow, 10, 15 pounds, that's a lot.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well,
to a trainer,
it's like, it is. But that was partly my fault, I'll say, JJ, because basically what they did for the TV show was they took the overall percentage of weight that I gained from my Fit to Fat to Fit journey, and they're like, oh, Drew gained 38%. So we feel like that these trainers should be able to gain the same percentage. And so they plugged that formula in and said, okay, JJ, your percentage, roughly 40% is 61 pounds or whatever. Go and do it. So that was my bad. But
for that, though, I appreciate it.
I told you you'd thank me later.
Hey,
and
I'm thanking.
Here we are today.
Yeah, no, but obviously, especially after watching the show, we're so glad that you decided to take on this endeavor, this challenge, and that you grew so much from it. Kind of starting from the beginning, though, how do you think, if you're being really honest, how do you think you viewed overweight people before this journey?
And you heard a little tidbit where I said I was judgmental before this whole process started. And I was being honest when I said that. Sad as it is to admit it. I think you grouped them into like I don't know, this. Okay, knowing that I've changed, let me go back and be honest with where I was, right? Because you grouped them into lazy and unmotivated and like get off your butt and do something about it type people, right?
Yep. And Ray's staring at you right now with that stink eye, right?
Ray, whatever. You've been with Ray for basically the past year. He knows.
I had judgmental positions coming from the other side also. So he's...
Yeah.
Which we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about next,
yeah.
Ray. So, because I want to talk about that too. But sorry, go ahead, JJ.
No, so I was coming from a place of judgment for sure. And, in hindsight, it's I feel pretty bad about it now. Like, my eyes have truly been open through this whole process. So, now, I talk about this all the time. Like, we see someone now who, could use a little help in that department. And instead of casting judgment, it's like, let's help, like, how can we help? What can we do? Let's reach out. Like, what can we do to help them?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know the deep, and I think anyone that's been overweight or struggled knows the deeper feeling that it's not even, oh, I have to help them with all these tools. It's that, yeah, most of the time people that are overweight know that they're overweight, but you remember that sinking feeling, that feeling that you have when you're at your lowest, when you don't believe in yourself, when you're depressed, or, you know, you really don't have the energy, and you remember how hard it is to get started and to believe in yourself. So I think that's kind of one of the most important things for being on the other side, that people kind of realize that it's not like that they're just like, oh, I have all this energy and all this confidence in myself, and I'm not doing it because I don't want to. You know, it's so much more than that.
Yeah, and you know, some people don't know this, but JJ and I actually know each other from being in Utah, and I knew that he was on the show, and you know, I had a chance to sit down and talk to you before all this, JJ, before you started the process, and I remember we had a conversation about this, and I kind of I admitted to you that I was that judgmental person. I was, you know, I was very judgmental towards people who were overweight. I'm like, look, why is this so hard for you? Just do it. It's easy. Work out. Eat healthy. And I was the exact same way. And I remember you telling me how judgmental you were. And I'm like, this is the perfect thing that you're doing, going through this experience of Fit to Fat to Fit and being on the show. Because honestly, I think a lot of people that are skinny or fit, that have good genetics, and for them it's easy, and a lot of people could learn something very important by going through this Fit to Fat to Fit experience. Do I believe everybody needs to do it? No, I don't. But at the same time, I think a lot of people out there who are judgmental could gain a lot of understanding from doing this journey. Now, getting to you, Ray, if you don't mind talking about your judgment on coming from the other side of it, because I do believe that it exists. And my whole goal with this Fit to Fat to Fit movement is to hopefully bridge the gap and gain a better understanding on both sides. People who are skinny and fit over here, people who are overweight over here, and bridge that gap that exists, because there is that silent gap that not a lot of people talk about, but there is that judgment. And my hope is that with the show, we can bridge that gap and bring those two sides together and have more understanding. But can you talk to that, Ray?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Before I was never comfortable walking into a gym or any kind of situation where it was a bunch of fit people and me. I mean, this past year I went to a fitness convention, and it was like traveling to a foreign country. I didn't look like anyone there. I felt like I spoke a different language than everyone else, and I felt like everyone was looking at me. And I opened my mouth and opened my mind a little bit and talked to people, and I learned that a lot of the judgment I perceived was in my head. And the vast majority of the fitness world is super excited for someone who, like me, was pushing 400 pounds and was beginning to try and change their life. Most of that judgment I felt from the outside was actually sourced from the inside of my insecurities.
Yep. No, that's so true, because I feel like that's a lot of people's feelings. And when I went through my Fit to Fat to Fit experience and going back into the gym after gaining all the weight, I felt judged, but most of that judgment was in my head, because I don't know if people were judging me. I didn't ask them, hey, are you looking at me because I'm fat? Like, why are you looking at me so weird? I didn't ever ask people that, but it was all in my head. And I perceive that judgment, but I totally agree with you. A lot of it is made up, because we can't tell if someone's looking at it, why someone's looking at us the way they are.
Yeah. So. Well, and I can't remember who told me this, but one time, I can't remember if it was my dad or somebody said to me once, I was saying something about judgment, people judging me or women judging me or these different things. And I think it was my dad. He laughed and just said, you know what? Everyone is too busy with their own lives, with their own sense of self, with their own families to give a crap about you and what you're doing. Like, all of it's in your head. It really is. Like, we worry so much about what other people think about our jobs or our families or our looks. And it's like, for the most part, people don't care. They really don't. So like, it most of the time is our own fears and insecurities reflecting back to us. Yeah.
Having been on somewhat both sides of the aisle here, I I can go to the gym and I'll see someone who's really big still, and I will look at them and smile. And I'm more on the fit side now, and I'm not looking at them because I'm judging them. Of course, how dare I? Because I was right where they were recently. but I am so impressed and inspired by them doing everything they can to fight in that moment. You know, it's if if a bigger person catches me looking at them now, it's because they're my hero.
Oh man, you're gonna make me cry.
That's awesome, right? Thank you so much for sharing that. That's so cool, man. That's why I love you guys. I love your personalities. I think people are really going to be drawn to it, so prepare for a lot of attention coming your way. All right, jumping back to the episode a little bit, going back to you, JJ. Here you are. You start this journey. You're starting to eat all this food. Was there a sense of like, oh, this is fun? And if so, how long did that last for? Before you're like, I'm so over this, but I still have 3.5 months to go, or at what point did that happen for you?
Oh man, you're taking me back to a dark place. It was fun for about 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
The first 3 minutes of that pizza were just
first
so
donut.
good.
I had a donut for a long time. And now it's one of my addictions. Thanks, Drew.
I warned you.
For me, and it is real. It is a real thing. Oh man, it wasn't. Man, it was so hard for me, and I don't know if it was as hard for everybody else, but it wrecked me in every way. I think I was prepared for it physically. I knew that the abs were going to go away and the body was going to go away a little bit. As you gain 60 pounds, that happens. But I wasn't prepared for what all of the food did to me mentally and emotionally. That's where I was completely wrecked.
Dude, you struggled, man. And I think one of the challenges with the TV show is that they're trying to show 8 months of footage in 1 hour episode, right? And there was moments where you were like balled up in a fetal position, you were crying, and there was so much more emotions that weren't on the episode.
Yeah, or even like I remember talking to Erica and her crying to me, going through, her feeling so helpless. Like, I've been with this man forever. I feel like I can't relate to him. I can't connect to him. Like I feel lost. So I know that it affected you so much more emotionally than you thought it was going to.
Look, like we're high school sweethearts, like Erica and I, right? Like we've been together forever and ever and ever. And we've always been on the same page, like we eat the exact same way, we train the exact same way. And so for me to go polar opposite, it was so hard on our relationship. And I actually felt bad for her. And that's where some of my depression came from. Some of the anxiety I felt came from knowing like what I was doing to her also, because it was not good.
Yeah.
That's I know, man. I can definitely relate to that. But it's funny because I told you, I'm like, man, you be prepared. This is going to be a lot harder than you think it is. And I think I told all the trainers that. They're like, I know it's going to be hard, but I think I got this, And then seeing how humbling the process was for a lot of trainers, you included, it just it makes me feel like all of it was worth it because it changed you in a better way. I want to go back to you, Ray, and ask you a question. And I'm going to ask all the other clients that come on the podcast about this. Do you feel like JJ having gained the weight and then losing it with you helped build a stronger bond versus if he never had done it? Like, was there value in him gaining the weight, or was it just kind of cool, like, oh, cool, thanks for gaining 60 pounds? Or was there appreciation there? Was there value in him doing that? And if so, from your perspective, what did it mean to you?
It made a huge difference for me. Before we were allowed to see each other, the show let JJ, give me a little gift basket and let me get a head start before we could work together. And they let me write him a letter. And I spoke to that in that letter, and it just, when I was finally turning away from, the demons that accompany obesity, he was suddenly facing them head on. And that made a huge impact for me. Even before we were allowed to work together, I knew he was facing all those demons and on my behalf. And how dare I not give everything I had to my part when I knew the struggle he had to have been going through.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I mean, I really am curious. I think a lot of people are going to be curious about, okay, was there value in these trainers gaining weight on the show? Because I know for me, people have told me all the time, thank you so much for doing what you did, even though there's haters out there that say you're stupid, you're crazy, this is just a gimmick, you're trying to just get on TV shows. But
everyone's got that one neighbor.
Exactly. Yeah, and so I kind of want to ask, the clients on the show, was there value in these trainers gaining the weight versus if they just had stayed fit and just tried to train them like the normal format for weight loss TV shows? And it's refreshing to hear that coming from you, Ray. Like, I really appreciate you being honest about that, because I've had people tell me, thank you for what you did. It meant a lot to me. It really changed my perspective on living a healthy lifestyle. And the way people have described it to me is like, for people that are overweight, it's like, hey, we're on this race and we're at the very back. We're like in last place. And to have you, who's up in the front, stop what you're doing to come all the way back to the end of the race where we are and finish the race with us at our level, that's kind of the way that they described it to me. And that makes me, sleep better at night, knowing that there's people out there that find value, even though it's crazy. They find value in this. And so
there's something empowering about relatability. Like, the best way that I can think of it from a non-weight point is of course, because I'm a woman, is pregnancy. And I really do not mean this in a judgmental way, but when I would run into the few women that would say things like, oh my gosh, pregnancy was like the easiest and greatest time of my life. I felt amazing. I had so much energy, and my skin was like perfectly clear, and I could do everything all day, and I didn't gain any weight, and I felt wonderful, like best time of my life. I would just look at them like, really? Like, I feel like I can't even trust you at this point because I cannot relate to you in any sort of way, versus the women that that would come to me and be like, oh, yeah, this is my experience with pregnancy. And I'd be like, oh, I totally know what you're saying. So when they would give me advice, I'd think, oh man, they've been where I've been. They know what I know. Like, I should try that tip or I should try that advice. I feel the same way. Like, if a trainer were to say to me, I don't even like donuts, I'd be like, whoa, back up. Okay, back up and turn around and get out of here, because if you don't even like donuts, I can't even trust you at this point.
For me, though, I hope it was big for Ray, which I think it was. But for me as a trainer, I had never been in those shoes before. I honestly had never felt heartburn. So I remember,
interesting. You're like, what is this? I'm dying. There's a burning in my chest.
Call 911. Somebody call 911.
My wife's like, that's just heartburn. I'm like, oh my gosh, but it burns so bad.
That's why they call it heartburn. But yeah.
I've never heard that before, ever in my life until this journey.
Yeah.
But it was,
that's pregnancy.
It was pretty eye-opening for me, too. It was,
yeah.
I'm glad I did the weekend. I would never, ever do it again, but I'm glad I did.
Well, I would love to hear from both of you the greatest lesson that you learned through this journey. I know that's like a big, meaty question. You can, sum it up. You can just give one great lesson you learned or 3 tips that you learned. But like, if you had to summarize the biggest thing you learned from doing this journey, each of you, what would you say that is?
Ray's going first.
Okay.
I love how you differ. You're like, it's your turn.
Yeah. How do I encapsulate?
That's what I'm trying to do.
One of the biggest things I learned is to remember that it's worth it afterwards. It's because when I'm on the couch and I don't want to do it and I just want a lazy day, or I'm at work and I work at a police department, so thousands of citizens, the holidays just finished and thousands of citizens drop off chocolate and sugar to thank us for working the holidays.
Yeah.
Surrounded by millions of calories of sweet deliciousness, and it's worth it afterwards. And the skill of putting a long-term goal in front of the short-term reward is powerful in every walk of life. And in this realm, in fitness, in health, I'm by no means perfect, but man, I've learned that lesson over and over, that it's worth it if I just decide right now to get up and do it anyway, whatever it is.
Yeah, which, by the way, those T-shirts you had made look awesome, Ray. So we're going to have to talk about at the end where we can get some of those. So make sure create a website for that. Okay, JJ, your turn.
Yeah, it's so hard to sum up what I learned from this. It's just been it's been such a huge blessing, you know?
Well, let me ask you this. This might help out. How do you train people differently now versus how you used to train people before? And maybe that can kind of lead you into...
Yeah, so from a training perspective, I think the greatest lesson I learned is that it's more about love than it is about number of burpees.
That's a good way to put it.
Like it used to be just like in my mind, it used to be like a cookie cut process. No matter who you are or where you come from, this is how you do it. This is how you're going to get it done. And I didn't even take any thought to what their backstory was, where they're coming from, what they're dealing with emotionally. What are your food addictions like? What's your family life like? What are your relationships like? I didn't even bother to ask any of those questions prior to this journey. And that makes me really, really sad because it's such a huge part of overall health and wellness. For me, the mental part of it, the emotional part of it, if you don't have those things in place, like if you're not in a good spot mentally and emotionally, let's not even talk about exercise yet, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, love. Can we let's just sum it up with love?
I love love. I love love.
Love more than anything else. Now, I really, really want what's best for the individual as a whole, and not just let's see if we can make them throw up during this workout.
Because that means that they did so good. If they pass out or throw up, my job is done.
I mean, there's it's so much deeper than that to me now. So it's changed everything.
Yeah, no, I get asked that question a lot too. Like, how do you train people different? Like, what did you learn from this whole experience? And yeah, I do focus so much more on the mental and emotional challenges and helping them overcome that versus like, okay, let's focus on how to do a burpee correctly, which is important. You know, those kinds of things. The physical side of it, you have to exercise and eat healthy for the most part. But if you focus only on that, then that 1 hour they spend with you is helpful, but the other 23 hours is like, okay, well, what do I do? Or, you know, how do I navigate through the other 23 hours and be successful? It's,
I mean, not to throw religion into this, but like, it kind of makes me think of, it kind of makes me think of Jesus when they talk about like giving a man a fish. Yeah, you can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, or you can teach him how to fish and he'll be able to eat for a lifetime. I feel like in fitness and nutrition, we've really missed the mark. And why so many people quit is because we focus on the fish. We focus on this is how you do a burpee. By the way, you should eat more broccoli. Basic concepts that are, yes, good to know. The knowledge is good to know. It's great to have fish. But without the underlining, without the how do you stay motivated, how do you gain inspiration, and that all comes from self-love, self-confidence, and that all comes from the emotional and mental side. So teaching the person how to fish for themselves, they'll never be able to sustain it, which is why so many people quit. So I love that your underlining lesson is love, because that's really where it begins, love.
Going back to the episode, you guys, I kind of want to talk about this. So the first workout back, JJ, not the one at the gym, but the one on the track where you put Ray through this hell and you're telling him just to push harder. And then did you know at that point that you would have to do the same workout, or how was that set up?
Yeah, I did know. But let me preface because you saw the workout before.
Yeah.
And I had, and imagine like 120 days without a workout.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get released from prison.
Yeah.
To move again. I had so much adrenaline. I was on such an emotional high at that point. I could have thrown a car a mile. I don't think that what you saw was a fair representation of how I truly felt. It was just like all of these emotions. Like some super stuff going on. But fast forward to the next day where you were kind of coming off that high, that emotional high, and you have your first real workout at the track. And dude, I could not believe it. The 400-meter warm-up lap, I had to stop. like I couldn't even breathe. And then trying to flip that 200-pound tire, like that just wasn't happening. And then I collapsed on the bear crawl and almost died. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think that's a brilliant part on the producer side to put that part in there on each person's episode, is because to show how humbling it is to start at the bottom for the most part. I mean, they're not. It's not like these 4 months put them as out of shape as, you know, some of the clients who have been overweight for years. But to see them struggle finally for the first time and be humbled is really powerful. I think people are really going to love that, because people love seeing me on my journey be humbled. And I remember one moment where I was in the gym, I was doing mountain climbers or something, and one of my old clients walked in, and he just sat there and just stared at me with a big smile on his face, watching me, trying to push my shirt back down because it was riding up and my love handles were bouncing everywhere. And I was so self-conscious, and he just was like, payback, man. This is exactly, what you've been putting me through in the past. And so to see you struggle, I think is really powerful. So in a way, JJ, like, I know it sucks to suck at something. I'm glad that you went through that. Ray, did you find value in seeing him struggle at that point?
Oh, it was. I'll never forget that day. It was powerful to see it was evident that JJ had worked his whole life and developed the skill of pushing himself as hard as he possibly could physically, because that's what he did. But his body was not able to do the things that he was used to, and so he had to dig deeper to get that done than I think he expected to. And me and the people behind the camera and the sound guy and the producers and the little crowd that gathered to watch us, we were all afraid that JJ would never quite make it back up off the grass. We were all scared on his behalf because we saw how scared that workout made him.
Yeah. But it's cool to see you kind of, it was cool to see you, Ray, kind of pushing JJ, and now you're the coach. You're kind of in his shoes, and to see the support you gave him, which I think is valuable as well, because you just went through the workout right before, and you know how hard it was from your perspective, and you see JJ going through the same thing. It was really powerful to see you kind of helping to push him and coach him along the way, because he needed that at that point. So you kind of became the trainer, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's for somebody like JJ that is probably, because he had always been fit, and he had been into health and fitness his whole life. And I've seen him work out before. Like he's like Superman. Yeah. Like everything's with that ease. It's kind of great for every trainer to have that experience where they're like, wow, this is hard. I'm not an expert at this. I'm not perfect at this. Because if not, how are you going to relate to your client when they're struggling to get through, or they're struggling with form, or they're struggling to complete it? If you haven't experienced that same thing, if everything you do is so easy, I could do pull-ups with one hand. How are you going to ever relate? It's good that you experienced that so that you could know how it felt, so that you can be encouraging every time you see a client with that same look.
So, Ray, I kind of wanted to ask you this question, because in the episode you struggled a little bit without JJ's help during the episode, until you realized that you can become your own hero. Now that the show's over, and for the most part, like, the cameras aren't on you and people are watching what you're eating and how you're working out, and maybe JJ's not training you every day, maybe he is, how do you foresee yourself maintaining this lifestyle? Because so many people, after weight loss shows like Biggest Loser and Extreme Weight Loss, a lot of them gain the weight back because the fame is gone, the cameras and lights, all that attention is gone. How do you plan on maintaining this healthy lifestyle now that you've lost the weight? What are some things you're doing to put in place to make sure that you don't gain the weight back?
Yeah, that's it's been kind of the perfect storm the last couple months, because the show got over and suddenly Thanksgiving and Christmas are here.
Yeah.
And, so I, for a little while there, I felt lost, and there wasn't someone watching me the whole time. And where am I going to focus my narcissism now? Because there's not a camera on me. And but it was another chance for me to, I put up the signs in my house that are still up. It was another chance to be my own hero. it was am I going to decide to do it anyway or not? And it's still powerful to decide to do that. And, I've still got a little ways to go, but I, at this point have not backtracked from where you saw me at the show. And I can do a few pull-ups at a time. And I made progress for the first time ever climbing a rope.
Cool.
There's all sorts of cool things that I want to see if my body can do still. I mean, just before we started talking today, JJ and I started talking about our next Spartan race that we're going to do. And, you're right in that I'm not training with JJ every day. I see him about once a week now. And, but, I do have to figure that in my life, and I'm working it out. And I mean, I have an amazing wife Julie's lost over 70 pounds herself.
70.
I know, it's so amazing. I think like she could have had her own episode. Like that's amazing that she's doing it with you.
Love it.
So congrats to her.
Got some pretty amazing inspiration sitting next to me at home.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. And doing it together, I mean, that makes such a huge difference. I know JJ touched on it briefly with him and Erica, and I know Erica, and she's amazing and inspiring. And when you're doing it together, when you're both eating similar foods and, both into physical activity, it doesn't even have to be the gym. I'm not huge at the gym, but the fact that, if you have friends or family that like to go on hikes or biking or just be active, it makes a big difference. It makes it so much easier.
Yeah. And I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people, from the shows, and I can kind of see, the ones that have gained the weight back and the ones that are able to still maintain this healthy lifestyle. And a couple things, Ray, and I'm not just speaking to you or giving you advice, but other people out there, is number one, accountability. So you're going to get a lot of fans from the show that are going to ask you questions like, Ray, you're my inspiration, you're my hero. How do I lose weight? What can I do? And so they're going to be looking to you. And so the ones that I've noticed are maintaining the healthy lifestyle are the ones that are continually posting on social media and things like that and being active with their followers. The ones that kind of drop off and don't post anymore their meals or don't post their workouts or, even sometimes selfies, it's kind of, you're staying accountable to your following. And then at the same time, it's setting new goals. Like the Spartan race is a great way to stay motivated, to stay in shape, because you paid the $100 or whatever it is, for the Spartan race, and 6 months from now, you can't show up on race day out of shape. You're going to be screwed. So you have to stay in shape to you don't want to let the money go to waste. So setting new goals, signing up for new races, staying motivated throughout the year after year is the way to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And it sounds like you're doing that, and you have a support system in your awesome wife. So
I sure do, and I'm so excited to kind of focus 2016. I declared 2015 the year of Ray. And it absolutely was. I'm super excited to kind of make the 2016 the year of everyone else. I'm excited to reach outside myself and see. It's weird to be an inspirational figure, but since there are people going to be inspired by my journey, how awesome is that to get my hands elbow deep in their own journeys? I'm super excited for this next year and the transition of turning outside myself now that I've got the inside somewhat figured out.
Yeah, man, it's all about paying it forward now. Now that you've learned how to do this, you can teach other people how to do it now, and you're paying it forward by being an inspiration to others. Last question before we get into the lightning round, you guys, because we're running out of time. Jay, this is for you, JJ. I noticed in the episode you let your kids kind of eat some of the foods as you were gaining the weight. Now that you're back to fit, has that caused some controversy or contention in the house where your kids are like, I want the donut and the shake. I miss my old dad, and we got to eat the good food. How do you and Erica and your kids now maintain a healthy lifestyle? How do you implement cheat meals? I know you guys have a tradition of going to a pizza place out there in Utah. I don't know if you still do that, but what are 3 tips you can give people to maintaining a healthy lifestyle as a family? And then you can kind of talk about the contention with your kids if they miss the old dad.
I miss my chubby daddy. You know what? This whole journey helped them. They're young, I think for the most part, it helped my 8-year-old the most, because she's a little bit older. She kind of gets it. My 3-year-old, she doesn't quite know what's going on yet. She helped me with some of my donut eating challenges, and at like donut number 3 for her, she was feeling the pain I was feeling. So she was on like the verge of tears, and then she entered the food coma state, and then she woke up nauseous and threw up. So it was good for her to see that this food is not as fun as it looks. So it was that this whole journey actually helped our little family a lot. So we're back to clean eating. We're on Erica's meal plans, and we feed them what is on the meal plan. We don't. I think you've said this in the past, Drew. We don't go outside and do mac and cheese or nuggets or anything else for them. Like, they eat what we eat, and if they're not eating it, they'll get hungry enough where they will. So we're trying to teach them good habits in the home. So if it's not in the home, if like the crap food is not in the home, they're gonna have a hard time eating it. So we just don't bring it in.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and of course, like, people are going to splurge from time to time. Yes, my kids have ice cream. Yes, my kids last night were eating an Oreo with me. It's not like my kids never get that, but for the most part, we keep healthy foods inside the home because it's what their body needs. They're little growing beings. If anything, they need it even more than us. They need the nutrient-dense foods as their bodies are growing. And anybody that has ever tried any of Erica's meal plans and recipes, they are like the bomb. They are so good. Erica's, I just want to move in and
we're still waiting for her to start a meal prep company, start shipping nationwide.
I know. If she could just cook all my
Hawaii,
meals,
especially.
We should say everybody about Hawaii. So
no.
Wait,
sorry.
Really quick before we jump into lightning round, this just
yeah.
popped up because I know people are going to be curious. Ray, can you update us as far as any progress with any adoption plans, or you and your wife having kids? Is there any news there?
We've got some leads, nothing solid, no paper signed, but I just feel so sustained in the faith that my transformation is going to bring a baby into our home.
I love that, man. Thank you so much for
where can people find both of you guys? Your website or social media. Tell everybody your handles, and we'll put it in the show notes, because I want people to be able to follow both of you guys to kind of see where things go from here.
Yeah, go ahead, Ray.
On Instagram, I am Do It Anyway Ray.
All right, Do It Anyway Ray, and we'll put that in the show notes.
You can find me at Hit Trainer on Instagram, or Hit Trainer 33 on Twitter. Just JJ Peterson on Facebook, and then Clean Simple Eats is my wife's website, or HitTrainerFit.com is my website.
Awesome.
Hit Trainer Fit, and that's HIIT people.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Hit.
Right. Awesome. Love it. Okay, you
well,
guys,
it'll
we're
be
gonna,
on the show notes if you guys want
to. Yeah, we'll be in the show notes so everybody can find
this.
you guys and kind of follow along and to ask you guys questions or gain inspiration. Of course, people like me, I want to be able to follow and see how things go for you and your wife, Ray. So that way we can follow you guys. Yeah. So now we're going into my favorite part, which is the lightning round question. For those that don't know what the lightning round question is, it's where we're going to ask just a few random questions that have no rhyme or reason or purpose. Literally, I just want to know. And you guys, we're doing it different because we normally don't have two people. We normally have one person. So we're going to go from one to the next person. Different questions, though. The key is you have to answer the question as quickly as possible and the first thing that comes to your head.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to do this too.
Yep. Right. So we'll ask one question, and we'll have I'll tell because some of these are for both of you. And we'll start with Ray. Ray, what food do you miss the most?
Sushi.
JJ?
JJ.
Okay, answer. Pizza.
Pizza.
What kind of pizza?
Oh, bacon wrapped deep dish.
We just had Dan Partland on, and I think that pizza that you had was like, because I asked him, I'm like, okay, you saw these trainers eating all this delicious food. Which food did you want to dive into?
He was
the
like
most?
double bacon cheeseburger.
This double bacon
cheeseburger
ranch pizza, and I think that was from you.
Okay.
So
this question will be for both of you, but I want JJ to answer first. What is your most embarrassing gym moment? And when I ask that, I mean really an embarrassing moment. Like maybe you had to fart and you're like, no one's around, but then it was silent and violent. Or maybe someone's spotting you and they're holding your feet and you come up for a crunch and you accidentally let one rip. I want an embarrassing
what's your
gym
most
moment.
embarrassing gym moment?
I don't think I have like a farting one.
Well,
Like,
I'm just giving you an example of the
That was
farting
an
one.
example.
That's just an example.
it doesn't have to be a farting one.
No,
Okay.
no.
I think I was trying to max out on bench one time. This is a while ago, and Drew, you've done this before too. Just please tell me you've done this. And you're going for your max, and you're like screaming and yelling, and you're doing like all the grunting and weird noises that people make, and all of a sudden, like one side starts to tip, and you lose it, and then the other side tips, and there just happens to be a mirror on that side.
Oh no!
And the barbell crashes into this giant mirror, shatters everything. And
Oh.
I'm telling you, like, if there's 7 years of bad luck for that mirror, like, I've got it coming. Like, it was loud and it was bad, you guys. So that was probably the most embarrassing.
Was this at CrossFit, the point?
Oopsie.
No, oh, no. We don't have gyms or mirrors there.
Yeah.
It was in college.
Gotcha.
It was in the gym at university.
Okay, that
love
has
that.
not happened to me. I've seen it on YouTube though. A lot of people do that on YouTube, so you're not
Drew
alone.
probably has the farting embarrassing stories, okay? So,
Actually,
I mean, where did I get those examples from? That's all I'm going to say. No, just kidding.
okay, Ray, your turn.
Okay, Ray.
You've
an
had time to
embarrass-
think about this.
An embarrassing gym moment.
I don't have to think much. Mine is flatulent. It was that very first day JJ and I started working together. I was so nervous. You're nervous, your body will build up some gas. And I was doing my max sit-ups in a minute, and one of them squeezed out a little fart, and it may or may not have come out on the audio. You might have heard it on the show. I'm not sure. But I know the sound guy confirmed that he heard it.
I knew it.
Hopefully, JJ wasn't holding your feet down. I
still remember that.
Yeah, he was holding my feet
Yeah, of course
down.
he was. Someone spotting you said that.
I really just
Like, this is
squeezed
what I
one out.
signed up for.
Well,
I love it. I love it.
Um,
Okay, so either Ray first and then JJ.
Yeah.
And you might have already answered this with your farting story, but either your funniest or funnest moment when you filmed the show. Your favorite show moment.
oh boy. There's
Don't steal mine.
no, my favorite moment was my first Spartan race.
Yeah.
And it was at the end, and there were a couple times. My first Spartan race was a super, and I was still at like 330, 340 or something. And I thought it was crazy to even try it. And it was near the end. It was the second to the last obstacle, because the last obstacle is always a jump over a fire.
Yeah, I remember that. Done that one.
It was this like nearly vertical wall that I had to climb, and I just stood at the top of it and looked down, and I saw the fire, saw the finish line, and all these emotions came rushing to the front, and I just took a moment at the top of that wall, and I flexed my arms, and I just felt like the king of the world there. And that was a powerful moment. I've done a couple other Spartan races, got my trifecta this past year, and I always kind of pause at that same obstacle and remember that moment. It was such a beautiful and empowering moment for me.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, I love that. And I had seen when you guys were doing that Spartan race, so I just want to say, kudos, man. I've done that, and I basically told everyone I died. They're like, "How was it?" I'm like, "Awful. I died."
Yeah.
Basically, like it's no joke.
It is
So I
not,
love
and I'm proud to say that your black toe made an appearance on the episode, Ray. So,
Yes, my black toe of Sparta.
yes,
Atlas ball weight 5.
I love that.
Heavy.
yeah, and I'm
Okay.
excited to hear about your guys' next Spartan race. Are you guys doing the Vegas one?
Vegas in March, baby.
Vegas, okay.
Okay,
I'll see if I can
JJ,
meet you
your
there.
favorite moment of the show.
Mine for sure was the final reveal, like when Ray walked through those doors, and he was dressed really nice, like all of his family's there, my family's there. That was like the culminating moment of this whole entire journey, to see Ray walk through that door looking like $1,000,000, holding his head high, his shoulders are back, just all the confidence in the world. Like, of course I cried, I lost my mind, but that like made all of this, the whole 8 months of whatever we just did worth it in that moment. It was amazing.
That is awesome. I love that. I love that, you guys. Cool. Well, that was our last lightning round questions. You guys survived. Only one flatulent story, so that's great. But no, seriously, you guys, we are so grateful that you guys came on this episode. We were so inspired by your journeys, and we know that so many thousands of other people are going to be inspired too. We'll make sure everybody is able to link up to you guys through the information on the website, through Instagram. We'll leave it in the show notes. And yeah.
And I'm guessing you have no plans to do this for season 2, right, JJ?
JJ, you ready for round 2?
I signed another contract. I'll probably have to read through that and see if I want to get later.
It's so easy, right? It's so easy just to gain it. I'm just kidding, dude. I love you guys. You guys are so awesome. I'm so glad that you guys, were picked for the show, because you were perfect for each other. And I love seeing how it brought you two together and the bond that you guys have now. I mean, it's so cool to see you each are each other's heroes in a way, and it's awesome to see that bond that not a lot of people get to have. Even as personal trainers, you don't always get that bond with other people. And so I'm happy for you two. I'm happy for you too. And you guys, and I can't wait to see you guys again back in Utah, hopefully soon, and in the future be working with you guys.
Thanks so much,
Absolutely.
you guys. Huge blessings.
Okay, guys. Go eat a donut for me. Just kidding. Thank you guys for joining us on today's episode. We really hope you enjoyed today's content and discussion with JJ and Ray. Please, if you do enjoy this podcast, please support us. Definitely would love your support. There's a place to donate on our website, fittofattofit.com/podcast. And there's a donate button on there if you want to keep our podcast alive. We would definitely appreciate that. And please leave us a review on iTunes. Subscribe to our show. Tell your friends and family about it if you find this content valuable. We love doing this for you guys, and we would love to continue doing it for you.
Yeah, and if you want to find us, you guys, you can find us on social media or on our websites. My handle is the number 2 Fit at Home, and you can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. I do have a Pinterest and Twitter, but I don't use it very often. And my website, the number 2 fitathome.com. You can read up-to-date blog posts. I have other great, amazing fitness content on there, and you can sign up for my newsletter, which I usually send out at least one newsletter a month.
Yep, and obviously my social media is at fit2fat2fit. My website's fittofattofit.com. There's a newsletter. You can sign up there for a weekly newsletter to stay in the know, keep in touch with us, ask us questions, yell at us, whatever it is you guys want to do. We will respond. We respond to all of our social media and our emails. We love you guys. We thank you guys for your support. We'll see you guys back here next week, where we're going to have on the client and trainer from next week's episode. So stay tuned. Continue watching the show, Fit to Fat to Fit on A&E. And we'll see you guys back here next week.
See you guys.